If you are anxiously attached, this is something you really need to know about relationships. By the way, my name is Jason Van Ruler. I am a licensed therapist. I help a lot of people with dating, relationships. So if you're anxiously attached and you're approaching dating, here is something you need to understand is that this relationship, whatever relationship it is you're pursuing, the person you're dating or want to date, is actually not going to fix everything. See, the thing is, I think as anxiously attached people, we think someone will solve our problem because we're anxiously attached. And so our primary wound from childhood is that we are not loved, or we need to pursue love or earn love in some way. And so we start to tell ourselves in the dating process that if we could just get this person, we'd be okay. So it's kind of an if-then type equation. But the reality is that you are the only person that can make yourself okay. And this is really challenging because oftentimes that is the exact work we don't want to do, right? We don't want to work to be okay because that's all that messy stuff that we don't want to look at. It is far easier for us to just say, if I could only meet such person, or if I could only meet this person or be with this person, then I will be fine because that relationship will fix me. But the problem is that when we approach dating from a place of neediness, meaning that we have a wound that we need to be filled and we recruit someone to do it, what often happens instead is we actually end up replicating the relationship that hurt us in the first place. Meaning, we're often wounded as children by parents who are not available and not present. That's often how we get attachment issues, and especially anxious attachment issues. And so if you had a parent like that, that's a really difficult relationship. And what the hallmark of that is you're a child, and so you have no control or agency over changing it. As a child, you just have to accept it because that's what kids have to do. You don't really pack your little suitcase up at age 10 and just say like, hey, mom and dad have decided you aren't great parents, I'm moving on. So we learn to kind of live in that space and have to endure it. And it's very, very difficult. So what happens is we leave childhood, we're now anxiously attached. We believe that love has to be earned. We have to perform for it. We have to chase people. And then we say, if I just chase this person, they will fix me. Well, here's the thing, is that healthy people don't really like to be chased, at least not in a very intense and needy way. And so what happens is we end up actually burning through a lot of relationships with potentially healthy partners because they're not quite sure what to do with us because our intensity and our need usually is well outside of what they're willing to give. And so we burn through those types of relationships, and instead we begin to chase people who are avoidantly attached, just like the parents we had in the first place. And so what happens is we now replicate a relationship that we came from in an attempt to kind of solve this problem, but we're trying to solve it with someone who is equally as unhealthy because the avoidantly attached person just wants to run from relationship. And so now we have what we call the classic pursuer-distancer relationship. The more I run to you, the more you run away. And so we end up locked in this pattern. And what happens when I work with clients is a lot of times like they know this. We're smart people. Like they know it doesn't make sense, it's illogical. But here in their heart, they're still trying to reconcile a wound that they had from childhood because that wound has stuck with them. It's been one of their primary woundings. And when we have a wound like that from our parents, only our parents could have solved that. And so what happens is we seek someone else to replicate that relationship and actually fix it this time. But what we don't realize is there is no stand-in for good parents. We just can't replicate that. And as adults, it's kind of weird to want your partner to reparent you, even if we do, and even if you didn't get it, and you most certainly deserve it, by the way, but it is kind of odd to approach an adult relationship from the standpoint of, could you please fix this wound that I have from my parents? And so if you are anxiously attached, as much as everything in your body is going to tell you, I will feel differently when, or I will be whole when, or if I could just when, I want you to understand something. Your feelings, if you've got an attachment wound, are probably going to lead you astray. And this is a difficult thing to realize. And I'm not saying you can't trust yourself, but I'm saying you have to take time to consider the facts. Okay, so what really are the facts that support this opinion? Are they even present? And if I don't know what the facts are because I can no longer be objective, who around me can offer some insight? And so when we get to this place, what we want to do is we want to always lean on our feelings. We want to make those the guiding light or our North Star. But actually what leads to the healthy relationship is walking through it from a fact or logical perspective. Now this is often a different gear we have to shift into, but when we learn to do this, we be able to have some objectivity. And in that objectivity, we can start to pursue the types of relationships that we actually need from a place of abundance and a place of wholeness and health, as opposed to being from a place of scarcity or woundedness or neediness. And so I just want you to remember, anxious attachers, one, I see you, I know, me too. Like, I've grown up this way. This has been me most of my life, and I had to do a lot of work around it. So I do understand personally. I know it's a struggle. Number two, there's a lot of hope for this, but we have to literally shift how we think. And instead of operating from the wound, we have to operate from our head. And that just requires a little bit different way of looking at things, and often community to support us. When you have that, you will make better informed decisions. But if you find yourself pursuing someone and telling yourself, they'll make me whole, or they'll fix me, or when we're together, everything will be fine, just recognize that's probably not the case. The only person who can actually make things better is you, starting here. Follow me for more. I'd love to help you along this journey from going from anxiously attached to secure attachment and healthy relationship.